So I was just thinking, about those audition rooms, especially over at the old, the Fox lot. That one building with the sickly yellow paint, down the hall from where they did, what was it, some kind of kids show? The smell in there, William. Always that same faint whiff of stale coffee, regret, and something else. Something sort of metallic, like cheap aluminum and dreams gone sour. It always felt like they were expected you to be well, that guy, even before you opened your mouth.
You mean the annex, Steve? With the tweed carpet that always felt faintly damp, even on a 90-degree day, and the pictures on the wall, carefully curated to show what, exactly? Optimism? No, definitely not optimism. More like aspirational blandness. I remember going in for the accountant who stumbles, or the bystander who gets involved, roles that, frankly, didn't require much more than a good solid tremor and the ability to look adequately put upon. They'd hand you the sides, and the description would inevitably include a man whose quiet desperation is palpable. You'd think they kept a template. Harumph.
Palpable. Yeah, that's it. They just expected it. You walk in, and they've already decided you're the guy who's going to get shoved into a locker, or, God forbid, get run over by a truck in Act 2. It was never a man of quiet determination, was it? Never a man who saves the day with a surprising burst of courage. It was always the nervous neighbor, the shifty informant, the guy who knew too much and is about to pay the price. How many times, William, how many times did you read "he dies" on page 47 inches before you even finished the character description? You'd look at the other guys in the waiting room, and it was always the same collection of us, wasn't it? All of us just waiting to become cannon fodder.
Too many to count, Steve. Though I distinctly remember one particular session where the casting director, a woman with exceptionally strong perfume and an even stronger sense of what constituted menacing yet ultimately pathetic, kept calling everyone pal. Okay, pal, just a little more sad for this take. Or, no, pal, less dignity this time. It was like she was stripping away your agency with every syllable. The coffee was always stewed, tasted like it'd been brewed at dawn, and left on the burner until noon. A true testament to the kind of budget they allocated for the loser auditions, I suppose. I've built entire aircraft with more care than went into those waiting rooms.
Yeah, well, that's just how it was, I guess. Part of the ecosystem. But look, William, I brought you here to talk about the project, the one that got away. Bill, it's funny, isn't it, how these things stick. You do a few parts, a few types, and suddenly that's your whole deal. The twitchy guy, the nervous one. The guy who, more often than not, doesn't make it to the credits. Or, if he does, he's probably in some kind of existential agony. Or, about to be. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, and then that t-shirt got shredded when I fell into a wood chipper. Or got shot. Or just dissolved.
Well, Steve, you've certainly cornered the market on the dramatically unfortunate. And you do it with such conviction. Nobody gets riddled quite like you.
Conviction, yeah. Or perhaps just resignation. But then you start to think, after the 100th time you've, coughed up blood or been betrayed by your supposed best friend right before the final act, what if? What if there was a different story? A different arc? And for years I've had this notion simmering. Not for anyone else, really. Just for me. A vanity project, they'd call it. And they wouldn't fund it, obviously. But in my head, it's a whole thing.
Oh, I'm all ears, my friend. What's the magnum opus?
It's called The Perennial Man.
The Perennial Man. Interesting. Evocative.
Yeah, perennial. Like a plant, right? Comes back every year. Doesn't just wither and go away. Ideally, we shoot this on 70 millimeters. Absolutely essential. Widescreen for the scope. We open, Bill, on a single, desiccated dandelion head. Not in a field, not by a quaint cottage. No, we're in the middle of a sprawling, forgotten industrial park. Rusting corrugated iron, cracked asphalt shimmering with heat haze, and this dandelion, it's caught in a faint breeze, just barely clinging to a hairline crack in the concrete. The Panavision lens, a pristine anamorphic, slow pushes in on this tiny, almost invisible speck of life, this spent bloom, its delicate parachute seeds poised to disperse. The focus is so shallow, so precise, that the entire world beyond it blurs into an impressionistic wash of ochre and slate. And then we hear it. A low hum, not industrial machinery. Something deeper, like the quiet thrum of a universe just existing. We hold on that dandelion, Bill, until one single, almost imperceptibly tiny seed lifts from its crown and drifts, lazily, across the frame, then out of sight. A new beginning, right? Or just a continuation.
That's remarkably specific, Steve. A dandelion, not a rose, no sweeping vistas, just a dandelion and a crack, and a hum.
Exactly. The hum is key. And no, not a rose. Too declarative, too obvious. A dandelion is tenacious. It's persistent. It's overlooked, which, hits a little close to home sometimes, doesn't it? The overlooked tenacity. My character, the lead, obviously. His name is Arthur Finch. And I'd play him. I'd really play him. Arthur isn't a hero. He's not even a particularly notable man. He works as a night watchman in a municipal archive. Has for, well, he doesn't quite remember how long. Decades? Centuries? The records are fuzzy. He just is. He's always been there. And that's the conceit, Bill. Arthur Finch cannot die.
Cannot die? So he's immortal? Like a vampire without the biting? Or a Highlander without the sword fighting?
Not like that. No. Not some grand, mythical curse or ancient lineage. No powers. No glowing eyes. No dramatic transformations. He just persists. He's not invulnerable, understand. He can be hurt. Severely. He can be destroyed, theoretically. But he always comes back. Not regenerated, not reborn as something new. He just resets. The wounds heal, the organs knit, the consciousness reboots. But it's always him. The same Arthur Finch. Frail. Observational. Slightly hunched. The same voice. The same quiet, melancholic demeanor. The same everything. He's like an old hard drive that just won't ever truly wipe clean. And that's the crucial part, Bill. This isn't a superpower. It's a burden. A profound, debilitating, soul-crushing burden. Think about it. You've played the guy who can't get a break, right? The guy who keeps falling, keeps getting back up. But imagine getting back up every single time for thousands of years. Watching everyone you've ever cared about turn to dust. Empires rise and fall. Philosophies flicker into being and extinguish themselves. Technology races forward. And he's still there, quietly shelving microfiches. My whole career, right? They always want me to be the guy who dies, the sacrificial lamb, the collateral damage, the one whose death is supposed to mean something for the hero's journey. Or, the comic relief before the actual tragedy hits. And I'm good at it. I can die with the best of them. I can twitch and gasp and make you feel something about the sheer unfairness of it all. But what if that's precisely what you can't do? What if you desperately want that peace, that finality, that release from the endless parade of human folly and triumphs, but it's just denied?
So the frustration isn't about not being important, but about not being allowed to end? That's quite a twist on the existential crisis, Steve. So what's the plot? What happens in the film, beyond him just existing?
That's the thing, Bill. The plot, it's not about grand events. It's about the accretion of small moments. Arthur has tried everything. Tried to throw himself off buildings. Just wakes up in the street. Bruised, but fine. Tried to starve himself. His body just persists, slowing down but never truly giving up. Tried to expose himself to every disease, every poison. Immune, somehow, not because he wants to be, but because the universe, in its own peculiar way, has just forgotten to turn him off. He's the ultimate forgotten background character. He's the guy who observes, cataloging humanity's fleeting passions and inevitable endings from the quiet solitude of the archives. The film would mostly be vignettes, glimpses, Arthur in different eras, always in the same kind of unassuming role, a scribe in ancient Rome, meticulously copying scrolls, feeling the weight of the parchment in his hand as empires crumble outside. A librarian during the Enlightenment, witnessing the explosion of ideas, silently archiving the nascent dreams of liberty. A forgotten clerk in a dusty 19th century office, meticulously filing records, hearing the distant rumble of industrialization. Always me. Always Arthur. Same face, same quiet eyes. There'd be a scene, for instance, in the 1960s. He's working in a small local library. A young woman, maybe a student, comes in regularly. She's bright, full of life, full of questions. She notices him, not in a romantic way, but as a kind, silent fixture. She brings him small gifts, a piece of homemade pie, a bookmark with a quote. And he, for a brief, glorious moment, feels a flicker of connection, a warmth he hasn't felt in centuries. He allows himself to hope, just for a moment, that maybe this time, maybe he can just be with her, watch her life unfold, maybe grow old alongside her. He imagines it, Bill, growing old, having wrinkles that actually mean something, not just the same old tired skin.
And what happens to her?
She dies. Of course. A sudden illness. An accident. Doesn't matter. She fades, like all the others, and he's left with the books, the quiet hum, and the aching emptiness that is the perennial companion to the man who cannot leave. And the film doesn't sensationalize it. It's just another entry in his endless ledger of loss. He picks up a book, meticulously shelves it. The camera just holds on his face, the quiet devastation, no big dramatic tears. Just that deep, bone-weary acceptance. This role, Bill, it's about subversion. They cast me as the twitchy, neurotic sidekick, right? Arthur is calm, incredibly calm. Because what is there to be neurotic about when you've seen everything? The sleazy henchman? Arthur is utterly pure of heart, almost childlike in his gentle nature, just utterly alone. The guy destined to meet a grim, often violent, end? Arthur's end never comes. The violence around him, it just glances off. A momentary inconvenience before the quiet hum of existence reasserts itself within him. He's the antithesis of everything I've been, or at least, everything they've made me be. He's the ultimate quiet dignity in the face of an absurd, endless existence. The climax, if you could call it that, would be Arthur, in the present day, finally discovering a hidden wing of the archives, a place even he hasn't found, and in it, he finds nothing dramatic. No secret formula for death, no ancient prophecy, just a single, ancient, almost blank ledger, and in that ledger, only one entry, barely legible, in a script he almost recognizes as his own from a forgotten past. To persist is to observe is to understand is to endure.
Steve, that is profoundly sad and beautiful in a desolate kind of way. He never finds an end? Or even hope? Does he ever find peace?
Peace? Maybe not the kind you'd read about in a storybook. But he finds acceptance. He finds a quiet, almost serene understanding that his role isn't to end, but to bear witness. To be the one who remembers, even when no one else does. The last shot would be him, sitting at his desk, sorting through old records, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on his lips as he listens to the quiet hum. And the dandelion seed from the opening shot, maybe we see it, millennia later, having finally taken root in a distant, quiet corner of a new world, a new crack in new concrete, just persisting. The cycle. So yeah, that's my pitch, Bill. No explosions, no car chases, no last-minute heroic sacrifice, just the quiet, endless burden of existence. And me, not dying for once, just being.
That is a lot. But hear mine. You know, Steve, I've been thinking a lot lately about patterns, the subtle, invisible currents that nudge the world along. Not grand, sweeping gestures, mind you, more like the way a particular lamppost always flickers just as you pass, or how you invariably get stuck behind the same slow-moving postal van every Tuesday morning. Little things. Insignificant on their own, perhaps. But what if they're not? What if they're orchestrated?
Orchestrated, Bill? You mean like fate? Or just, bad luck with traffic?
Ah, Bad luck. That's what they want you to think, isn't it? No, not fate in the classical sense, not some omnipotent hand-moving pawns. More like bureaucratic necessity, the subtle adjustments needed to keep the whole precarious contraption from rattling itself to pieces. Because, Steve, left to its own devices, pure, unadulterated chaos would grind everything to a halt in about, 12 minutes flat. And that, my friend, is where Arthur Finch comes in. Arthur Finch. That's the title, actually. Well, it's working title for the project. The one I've been cultivating. I've been calling it the Entropy Man.
The Entropy Man. Sounds a little heavy. Not exactly a rom-com, then?
A rom-com it is decidedly not. Though, come to think of it, there is a certain perverse romance to the sheer, relentless inevitability of decay, wouldn't you say? But no. This is something different. Something I've been kicking around for years. A film. My film. My great, utterly unmarketable, probably unfundable vanity project. We open, Steve. We open on a single, perfectly ordinary, slightly deflated red balloon. Not new, not old. Just existing, caught precariously on a jagged shard of concrete atop a weathered, almost forgotten municipal building, the kind of building nobody really notices anymore, designed in that brutalist style that screams efficiency but whispers despair. We're on a Panavision anamorphic lens, of course, giving us that expansive, slightly distorted view of the urban sprawl, the indifferent sky. The color palette is muted, almost sepia-toned, a late autumn afternoon light casting long, mournful shadows. The camera holds, unblinking, on that balloon. The wind picks up, just a breath, enough to make it quiver, to reveal the faint, almost entirely faded image of a cartoon dog on its surface. And then, and this is crucial, we hear it. Not dialogue, not music, just the rhythmic, almost hypnotic thump-thump-thump of an ancient, industrial-strength air conditioner unit kicking in somewhere deep within the building. A low, persistent hum that becomes the heartbeat of the scene. The camera then begins a slow, agonizingly deliberate crane shot, descending, past grimy windows, down the sheer face of the concrete, until it settles, finally, on a single, dimly lit window on the 4th floor. Inside, bathed in the sickly yellow glow of fluorescent lights, we see him, Arthur Finch. Arthur is not a hero. He's not even an anti-hero. He's an administrator. He wears a tie that's just a little too wide, a tweed jacket that's seen better decades, and a perpetually bewildered expression that masks an intellect sharper than any razor. He works for the Department of Minor Chronological Anomalies and Incidental Displacements. Or something equally drab, the kind of governmental agency that exists solely to justify its own existence, that no one has ever heard of, and if they did, they'd immediately forget. His cubicle is filled with mountains of precisely organized, but utterly nonsensical, paperwork. Graphs detailing the statistical probability of a dropped toast landing butter side down on Tuesdays in even-numbered months. Memos about the optimal atmospheric conditions for misplaced car keys. Charts illustrating the migratory patterns of left socks.
Okay, wow. That's really something, Bill. A butter side down graph. I'm picturing it. And Arthur, this sounds like you, but not you.
Exactly. You see, Steve, for so long my early career, particularly with Mamet, those wonderful, complicated roles, they pigeonholed me. They saw the quiet desperation, the put upon everyman, the sad sack whose best intentions inevitably lead to utter ruin, the beta male, always scrambling, always reacting to a world that seemed determined to flatten him. And I loved playing those guys, believe me. There's a profound truth in that quiet struggle. But the thing is, there's always more, isn't there? There's always an engine humming beneath the surface, a hidden capacity for something else. Arthur Finch appears to be that sad sack. He has the gait, the mild-mannered affect, the slightly stooped shoulders of a man perpetually burdened by the sheer weight of existence. But here's the kicker. Arthur isn't just experiencing entropy, Steve. He's managing it. He's not the victim of the universe's random cruelties. He's the low-level technician responsible for ensuring those cruelties are, shall we say, appropriately distributed. He's the guy who has to make sure that the guy who needs to miss his flight by exactly 3 minutes does miss his flight, because if he catches it, a delicate cascade of events, a butterfly effect of epic proportions, will cause a minor earthquake in Topeka, or, worse, a really bad batch of coffee at the UN.
So he's like a cosmic air traffic controller for mundane disasters? Like the universe's designated mild inconvenience architect?
Precisely. He's the one who subtly adjusts the thermostat of reality. A misplaced umbrella here, a sudden gust of wind there, an inexplicable delay in the dry cleaning delivery. Each minor aberration, each tiny tremor, isn't random. It's a deliberate, meticulously calculated countermeasure. A necessary imperfection to prevent a catastrophic breakdown. He understands the algorithms of everyday absurdity. He can see the invisible strings, the delicate interdependencies, and he has to intervene, with an almost agonizing conscientiousness, to ensure that the fabric of reality doesn't tear. So, when I play Arthur, I'm not playing the guy who's just a victim. I'm playing the guy who is the linchpin, the quiet force, the unassuming cog in the cosmic machine who, if he were to suddenly decide to just stop, the whole thing would wobble off its axis and crash into itself with a rather unceremonious whimper. The character demands that quiet intensity, yes, but also a hidden power, an almost zen-like focus, and a dry, world-weary humor born of seeing the universe's most ridiculous patterns repeat themselves, day in and day out. It's an exercise in understated bombast, you know? It's not about grand gestures. It's about the devastating impact of a perfectly timed sigh. It's about the profound consequence of a single, barely perceptible shrug.
I get it. So he's not trying to fix the chaos, he's managing its symptoms. Like a cosmic palliative care specialist. He knows the disease is terminal, but he can make it a little less painful, or at least strategically painful, for everyone. That's really dark, Bill, and kind of beautiful.
Darkly beautiful, yes. Because what is beauty, Steve, if not the temporary reprieve from chaos, the momentary illusion of order? Arthur understands that the universe isn't just indifferent, it's profoundly forgetful. It needs a little nudge now and then, a gentle reminder of its own design flaws. His greatest struggle isn't with some external antagonist, some mustache-twirling villain. His struggle is with the relentless, unyielding tide of entropy itself. It's an internal battle, played out in the mind of a man who looks like he should be watering his petunias, but is actually, holding the universe together with spit and string. The performance, for me, would be about conveying that immense internal weight with the slightest external tremor. The heavy sigh that carries the burden of billions. The brief, almost imperceptible glance at a misplaced stapler that tells you he's just averted a continental drift. It's the ultimate quiet power fantasy, because it validates the overlooked, the unnoticed, the utterly unassuming. It elevates the mundane to the essential, and it asks, what if the most important person in the world isn't the one making the headlines, but the one ensuring the headlines even exist in a coherent order?
Wow. Bill, I gotta say, that's truly original. It's got that intellectual sting, that quiet pathos, and this crazy, expansive concept all wrapped up in a guy who just looks like he's trying to find his reading glasses. I can totally see you doing that. Just owning it. Nobody else.
That's the idea, Steve. That's the idea. The problem, of course, is that Hollywood, bless its bombastic, explosion-loving heart, isn't quite ready for a cinematic exploration of the profound existential dread inherent in a misplaced post-it note. They want superheroes, or at least supervillains. Not a cosmic middle manager.
Yeah, I hear ya. The studios are going to be a tough sell on the subtle art of averted catastrophe via a slightly delayed elevator. Maybe just the two of us then? We can kick it around over some